So I wanted to talk about the dark independent drama film Mean Creek from 2004, because I feel like this movie doesn't really get a lot of praise. Like, I feel like within the last 5 years it's finally been getting somewhat of like an underground following. But I think one of the things that stands out the most about Mean Creek is just the acting from everyone. Because I feel like this movie had a lot of unknown actors at the time. Like, you know, this is before Josh Peck was, you know, on Drake and Josh, which was featured like a big hit show on Nickelodeon back in the day. But I think the movie really showcases the range that Josh Peck had as a dramatic actor and also as like a funny actor. I mean, like, the amount of, like, the range of emotion that he gives throughout this whole movie is just really, like, overall underrated. Like, I just feel like no one really talked about his acting in general. I mean, like, everyone was great, like, you know, but I think it's a shame because I feel like Josh Peck could have gone on to do more dramatic and serious roles, but he never really did. Yeah, the best way I can describe Mean Creek, to me, it's kind of like a really good, strong high, like the perfect buzz, and then all of a sudden it's just like with the worst come down ever, because like the first 30 to 35 minutes of this movie is just so feel good and it's filled with good laughs and like, but then all of a sudden the film just like flips on a dime, which is good because I mean that's just, you know, life in general. And I think one of the strongest points of this movie is it just goes to show you how like a heated argument or heated emotion, like a heat of the moment in general, can like change your life forever. But yeah, I think Mean Creek also has an amazing musical score by most of the music done by John Gold. It also features some pretty good pop songs, you know, from Spoon and Wilco. You know, absolutely astonishing cinematography. The movie was filmed entirely in Oregon, in Troutdale and Estacada. But yeah, the movie mainly explores elements of bullying and, you know, like sometimes the way people act, you know, when it comes to picking on people or like making fun of people. Because, you know, Marty kind of falls in the same category as the character George in this film. Like they both have their own demons that they're dealing with, you know, one suffering from autism, the other one comes from an abusive family, but it's like at the end of the day, like Marty, for example, like sure, he wants to stick to his guns on what they originally planned to do with George, which is just make him strip naked and throw him in the river. But it's not really necessarily George that he's angry with. That he's just pissed off at himself that he has such a shitty home life, and you know he's dealing with abuse from his older brother, and you know it seems like he probably gets abused by everyone in his family. And then George suffers from autism, so it's like he doesn't know how to express himself in a socially appropriate manner. So instead of, you know, he goes back and forth between being like nice and charming, but then he's a total dick the next moment. And, you know, like Sam says in the beginning of the movie, he's like, you know, if we hurt him, we'll be just as bad as him. And, you know, he's just this like troubled kid, George, who just wants to have some friends, but he just doesn't know how to act appropriately. But yeah, one of the many other strong points of this film is definitely the pacing. This movie only goes at about 1 hour and 26 minutes, and I mean, it flies by really quick. To me, it just feels like a really short, like, TV episode to a degree. Which I gotta say, I love the fact that George is making all these videos, like, just for himself, because this movie came out at a strange time. I mean, this came out in 2004, so this is, like, really before social media took off. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, MySpace was pretty big around this time, or just getting going, but there was no YouTube yet. I mean, YouTube came out in 2005. There was no Facebook, nothing like that, no Instagram. So I love the fact that George's character was just making all this footage for himself, and towards the end when they show, you know, the footage he's getting in his room, like, to, you know, continued once they get the camera, I feel like he could have been kind of one of the first influencers to a certain degree. One of my favorite parts of the movie is when Marty goes into the mini-mart with Rocky, wants to buy a pack of cigarettes, and then he sees his older brother who's kind of abusive towards him with his friend Jasper, and they're just like, where are you boys going? And they're like, and Marty makes a joke like, oh, we're going cow spanking, even though they're obviously not really doing that. But just the way, like, Jasper's, like, tone when he's like, Kyle, are you gonna go pussy hunting? You ever been pussy hunting?
Spanking Kyle, are you gonna go pussy hunting?
Good for you, Jasper.
Hey. You ever been pussy hunting?
Like, I feel like he's just saying it to him, like he's not even being very serious. I mean, like, he could be. He does seem like a white trash piece of shit that would say something like that in a serious manner, but to me, I just like to think that he's saying it because he's just already been drinking and he's just bored out of his mind, and it's a small town, like, what the hell else are you gonna do? Yeah, I think it's funny, too, because there's a part where they're all smoking weed, you know, Clyde, Rocky, and Marty. And I'm just always intrigued by people who like to drink, but they don't like to smoke weed, or people who only smoke weed, but they won't drink, because there's a part where Marty tries to pass him a joint, and he's like, dude, what'd I tell you? You don't smoke bud? Faggot, which this movie could never come out today. The use of, like, faggot, and then, like, you know, they use the R word, which I won't say, because then this video will probably get demonetized like every other fucking video that I seem to put out lately.
Yeah, so get it out of my face. Faggot.
But yeah, smoking weed by itself, boring. Drinking by itself, boring. But weed and smoking combined, absolutely perfect. But yeah, as much as I love everyone's acting, the only person in this movie that I really don't like or think was bad is actually Marty. I feel like Scott Michalowicz, or whatever his name is, I feel like he's trying too hard to emulate Brad Pitt in this film with his overall cadence and just like the way he speaks, his delivery, even like kind of his facial expressions. I mean, maybe that's not what he was trying to go for, but to me, it just seems like he's not trying to really, like, do anything unique with the character. You know, it's funny, because at the end of the day in Mean Creek, they're originally trying to plan to throw George in the river and make him run home naked. They should have done the opposite. They should have thrown Marty in the fucking river. Like, he's, like, the biggest douchebag ever. Like, he's always in a bad mood, it seems. He's just always out to get everyone else and, like, blaming his own abuse on other people. It's like, I mean, I get it, that would be hard to grow up in the house that he lives in where he's getting abused, but it's like, dude, you're lucky enough to have some fucking great friends, and, like, he's just taking it for granted. Meanwhile, George is trying to make friends, and they're, like, you know, if anything, I think I like his vibe better than Marty's. And then, yeah, Marty, like, they're out on the river, and they're like, Marty, what do you think? And he's like, I think I'm bored as fuck. I'm gonna litter this beer can. And it's like, dude. And then, yeah, he says to Rocky, like, you get me out here on a Saturday when I could be at home watching TV.
Wait a minute. First you get me all juiced up. You get me out here on a Saturday when I could be at home watching TV.
If it's a nice day out on a Saturday, and I have the option to go boating on the river for a while and drink beers, like, you would have to hold a fucking gun to my head to make me sit inside on a nice, beautiful, gorgeous day and watch fucking TV. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like doing that at night after all my stuff is done.
Later on when I come back. See, I get high at night when I get through with all my business.
But yeah, not during the day. But yeah, you could tell too, like, once Clyde, Rocky, and, like, Marty, like, once they graduate high school, like, Clyde especially is never gonna hang out with Marty again. He's gonna, like, go on to college and get this, like, high CEO paying job, and he's gonna go back to his hometown to visit his two dads, and, like, he's gonna realize, like, oh, yeah, Marty's exactly where he was, only worse, and now he's bloated. Anyways, yeah, Marty is just the absolute worst in this film. Anyone who's into a great dramedy film should definitely give this one a go. It does remind me a lot of a little bit of, like, Stand By Me vibes, with, like, maybe a splash of Goonies to a certain degree. Anyways, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm gonna stick a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger.
Dave.
Yes! Ah!
Are you gonna teach us anything, or are we just gonna sit here?
Just do whatever you want.
Look, here's the deal. I've got a hangover. I know that, faggot! I know that! And I'll repeat that, punk, if I ever catch you fucking with my camera again!